Hey Rebels, today's guest is deeply plugged into Regina's culinary scene. He's worked at places like Willow, Flip, Aiden, Malt City, the Capital, and now he's a sous chef at one of the city's most dynamic and interesting restaurants, Avenue. His name is Chris Torjusen, but you might know him as Chef Torji. I like seeing him when he drops by the Rebellion taproom because I get to pester him with a bunch of foodie questions and ask him what he thinks. Just a couple weeks ago, I saw him picking produce out at the farmer's market downtown, and what I imagine was a special grocery run for the daily special for Avenue, but maybe it was for himself. I'm going to ask him. I've been bugging Chris to come onto the podcast for more than a year and just drink a beer with me and give me all the dirt on the restaurant industry in Regina. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
Good, man. Yeah, pestering me for well over a year, hasn't it? It was one of those, okay, let's finally just sit down and nail down a damn date here.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah, well, you work in a restaurant, it's pretty much consumes your life to a point.
How many hours a week do you kind of do?
Oh, I would say minimum 60.
Minimum 60.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the dedication and love of the craft.
Yeah, and it's just kind of when you're working in a restaurant like Avenue, you know, it's a little more prep intensive. It's a little bit on the higher scale when it comes to the food, at least. We don't consider ourselves a fine dining restaurant. We're a casual restaurant, but the food is definitely a little bit on the higher end. So the work that goes into it is definitely a little bit more extensive.
Why is that?
Just because of the dedication, the efforts, and the work that goes into it.
Are you guys cooking from scratch? Like,
oh yeah, only a couple things in the restaurant are not made in house. Ketchup being one of them, because well, it's ketchup. Don't get me wrong, I love ketchup too, but it's not as important as say charcuterie, which we make at the restaurant. So charcuterie, for a lot of people, it's dry cured fermented meats, terrines, pâtés, galantines, ballantines, what have you. So for us, we do a lot of that in-house.
What sets that apart from, say, just ordering it in? Why take that extra effort?
Because you can customize it. I can take something and put my spin on it and have it be how I want it to taste. Nothing wrong with some of the really good imported products that you can get, but when you're able to take something and add your personal flavor profile to it and make it something that's yours, it's, number one, there's a pride that comes in it, especially with charcuterie. You're waiting, sometimes up to 3-4 months for a product to finish aging before you even get to taste it. So it's very much, you taste it, the flavor is really great, and you take a huge pride in it, and then hopefully that comes across to the guests and they become invested in it. And honestly, I just love doing it.
What is that the unique experience people can expect when they come to you guys? There's been extra thought and care.
You're gonna get something different. Our menu is very, very different than a lot of restaurants. We dry age all of our steaks in house. Pasta's made from scratch, but we're also doing very simple but very good food. Our burger is a very basic everyday burger, but what makes it so special is that we're grinding the beef almost every single day to make patties, and we're using good quality beef from good suppliers in the province. And because we're grinding in-house, because we're forming the patties ourselves, we can actually cook that burger like a steak. We can cook it to medium rare, we can cook it to medium, because it hasn't been handled as much as, say, ground beef that you would just buy in. And so you get a different level of beef flavor when you're using really good, properly raised ingredients.
I've had your guys' burger. I think I inhaled it in 5 minutes. I think you were there. I was eating it. You looked down, looked back up, and the burger was gone.
Yeah. You engulfed that damn thing.
My only complaint was I wanted more.
Yeah.
Just give me the next burger. Don't make me wait.
Oh, yeah. And then because we dry age our steaks in-house, you always have trim from the dry aging. So I like to build up all my trim and we will grind that up into a dry aged burger, which is definitely something else as well. It's definitely a different flavor that you don't really see. And like we make hot dogs and we make our own house hot dogs.
Really?
Yeah, I make my own pastrami, which honestly I'll put my pastrami up against any kind of stuff you can get at the store. Mine, although mine, I like to put a heavier smoke on mine, and I do something a little bit different where I'll smoke it for 9 hours and then I'll vacuum seal it and sous vide it overnight, so it really breaks down the muscle fibers and everything, so you get this really melty, fall apart, super smoky pastrami.
Last time we were chatting, just at the tap room, you were telling me something about how you were given responsibility over certain aspects of the Avenue menu. Can you elaborate a little bit what that might be?
Well, so there's myself, and then there's the head chef Lenny, and then obviously Dale McKay is the overall executive chef, I guess you'd say, but he's based in Saskatoon, so it is really on myself and Lenny to run the restaurant. And when it comes to menu development, it's usually the three of us kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, working, testing ideas out. Sometimes, I'll contribute one component to a dish and Lenny contributes another. Other times it's, hey, I want to try this out. I'll run it as a feature. If it works, great. If it doesn't, what can we do to change it to make it work? Or is it going to work?
So you're constantly testing and iterating.
Oh, yes. So unlike a lot of restaurants that will do wholesale menu changes every, say, 4 months, with us is we change items at a time. It's a little less stress on the kitchen to go through a whole, you need to now learn 7 new dishes. It's not, it's a lot of work when you're doing a big menu changeover like that. And with changing singular items at a time, it's less stress on the cooks. As the chef, you're able to focus more on that particular dish rather than focusing on, say, a dozen dishes that you need to change. So it really gives you that time to make sure that it is as good as it can be.
Because when you're in the kitchen, you don't want to have too many variables. You want to hone in and have a most perfect presentation repeatedly every time.
Yep.
Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah.
I don't want to make an assumption, though.
No. But no, it's great for us because we can kind of work with the seasons as we can. So, like, we're gearing up to change our pork dish right now because our pork dish is a very summery dish right now, and we use something called shishito peppers, which are they're kind of like a shriveled jalapeno, they look like, but they're not spicy. However, the funny trick is 1 in 10 is spicy, so it's like playing Russian roulette. You don't know if you're going to get a spicy one or not. But they're coming out of season now, so now it's time to, what are we going to change this dish to? What are we going to do? Do we like the protein that we're using right now, which is pork shoulder? Do we want to keep using pork shoulder? Do we want to move on to, say, pork belly? Or do we want to go back to a pork chop, which we've done in the past?
When I've talked to you at the bar, I'm sitting around, we're shooting the breeze, it always feels like you're learning something new. What's something new that you've learned lately?
Lately? That's a tough one, actually.
Because last time we were talking, you were talking about smoking and you were talking about pastrami and all the things you've been reading and learning and discussing. So I was like, what's new? What's the new thing you're trying to master?
Different kinds of pasta, to be honest. I love making pasta. It's one of my happy places. But I've been doing a lot of the same shapes for the last couple of years that I'm used to doing, like a tagliatelle or a strozzapreti, which is one of my favorites just because translated it means pre-strangler, which is kind of funny to me. But doing different kinds of like raviolis. And that's such a broad term because, there's agnolotti, there's tortelli, tortellini, tortelloni, mezzalune. There's so many different pasta shapes out there, so it's fun to really like learn how to make all of those. And the other thing is some noodles or some pastas lend themselves to different sauces, and so you're trying to learn, okay, I've got this noodle, what kind of sauce would go best with that? It's not always, I'm just going to make a tomato sauce or a ragu and that's going to work fine. Or it's using different kinds of flours. Like last week I ran a special where I made a rye flour pasta. And rye flour is so much different to work with because it's a drier flour, it doesn't have quite as much gluten in it, so you have to work in a little bit of regular flour to make it work, but it gives off a very distinct flavor.
Spicy character?
Almost a little bit, yeah. It's nice, though. I like it.
One of the other things that I wanted to bug you about was mushrooms.
Oh, yes.
You guys are pretty hardcore about mushrooms, right?
That we are. Yeah.
Like an understatement to say you're kind of hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have 4 restaurants in total in the restaurant group. There's 3 in Saskatoon, Aiden Kitchen Bar, Sticks and Stones, Little Grouse. And so they've been open longer than we have, and they have established relationships with foragers. And so this year we had a gentleman, I can't remember his name to be honest with you, who was foraging chanterelle mushrooms for the restaurant. And I think the last time I had spoken to Dale about it, the total was about 700 pounds of chanterelles. We had pretty much bought every chanterelle we could get our hands on because they're delicious mushrooms, especially the northern Saskatchewan chanterelles, because our growing conditions up north for them are almost perfect for them. And so northern Saskatchewan chanterelles have become actually quite prized all over North America and even over in Europe for their quality and how good they are. And that a lot of people don't know that about the Saskatchewan chanterelles, is how good they are. So for us, it's let's buy them, let's present them as simply as possible, and let's let people experience this.
I've had chanterelles at Avenue from your dish, but for someone who's never had them before, never tried them, but has no context, what do they taste like?
They're very earthy. You almost kind of get a bit of that woodsiness from them because obviously you're foraging in the woods for them. They're dense as well, or at least the Saskatchewan ones are dense. The ones you find in BC or down in the US are a little more frilly, I guess is the word, because the caps aren't as compact and distinct like the Saskatchewan ones. They're a little more unfurled, so it's a little more dense. You don't want to eat them raw.
Why is that?
You can get sick.
Okay.
Yeah. As with a lot of foraged mushrooms, you want to cook them. Like, you're not going to die from them per se, but they will give you a stomach ache. So you need to cook them. You gotta.
You guys served it on porridge with pine nuts or sunflower seeds or something?
That was pine nuts.
Pine nuts?
And there were sunflowers. There was both in there, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not out to lunch. But that dish was amazing. Like, I can still taste it in my mouth when I think about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, I want to eat that again.
Well, and the whole idea behind that dish was it was a porridge. It was an oat porridge, but the idea was risotto. Because mushrooms and risotto, they go together perfectly, and we were just getting into chanterelle season. And it's like, let's do something different, eh? Let's use oats, which are easy to work with. They're grown in Saskatchewan, and let's try something different.
Would you say chanterelles are like the new truffle thing?
Chantrelles and morels.
Morels?
Yeah, morels are another mushroom that you see a lot of nowadays. They've become very popular, and because you can only forage them, you can't grow them. They're not cheap either, but they're really nice to bring in. And yeah, truffles are expensive. Truffles are harder to get, per se, I guess. But I think the step down to the morels and chanterelles, which are a little more affordable, you can do a lot with them.
Do you shave them on top of dishes? How do you treat them? How do you serve them?
Well, with morels, there's a lot of different things you can do with them. You can pickle them, you can dry them, you can slice them different ways because they kind of look like a cylinder, honeycomb cylinder. So when you slice one, say, widthwise, you kind of get this weird circular kind of shape, and they're good. I honestly just like them just simply sauteed, a little butter, a little shallots. I try to steer away from garlic with these kinds of mushrooms, not because garlic doesn't taste good with them, but garlic can sometimes overtake the flavor of the mushroom, and that's what you want. You want the flavor of the mushroom. You don't want garlic overpowering that.
What beer should people be drinking with these chanterelles?
A lighter beer is what I would go for. A heavier beer is just kind of going to mask some of the flavors. I think with the oatmeal porridge we did go with a stout. But because it was a porridge, stout kind of works a little bit better. Plus oats, oatmeal stout, it just kind of goes.
It just kind of goes. So would you say maybe something closer to our Fest beer, which is a more laid-back Vienna-style German beer? It's lighter.
Yeah, that would go well with them.
Deadly.
Yeah. You're not going to find much right now. They're definitely coming out of season. Like, we're all out of the restaurant right now, but...
When should people come to you guys to get that good mushroom action?
Usually late spring, early summer. That's when you start seeing the mushrooms. Like, Morels are the first to come, and then the Chantrelles start to trickle in as the Morels are really picking up, and then the Morels disappear, and the Chantrelles just skyrocket. It's great. There's so many different foraged products out there now because there's so much more emphasis on finding new and different ingredients that you don't normally see up here in Saskatchewan all the time, or in Regina, or in Canada. One thing that's become incredibly popular over the years has been ramps.
Ramps?
Ramps.
What's
so that? They are like crossing a leek with garlic. There's this almost like a good leafy green onion is what they look like. And they're an onion at the end of the day, but they have a very delicate flavor, little oniony, little garlicky. They're delicious. I actually really like them just grilled. They're tasty. You can pickle them, which gives off a really nice flavor.
What do you serve them with? What would you pair them with?
Honestly, they go with a lot of things. Ramps on their own are really good. With a steak, obviously, it would be delicious. It'd be like sauteing mushrooms, but saute an onion.
That's awesome. Let's jump into some beer.
Sure.
We got something special today. As of this recording, it's not yet available for sale. I've been aging this one in my basement for about 2 months. Ooh. It's a Belgian Quad, and it's our anniversary ale, the 2019 edition.
Nice.
It's pretty boozy. You're going to be getting 11% ABV. It's designed to age.
Yeah.
So when we first had a sip of this, I was like, oh, this is a little medicine-y. But now I'm curious to see how it's done when it's aged.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers. Candy aroma.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a little sweeter than I thought it would be.
There's tons of Belgian candy in this, candy syrup. It's definitely calmed down since the first time I had it about a month ago.
Yeah, it's not too harsh at all, though. Very easy to drink.
Pretty smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guess this was 11%?
That's gonna sneak up on you. Couple of those, and you're gonna go, "Whoo, hi, how you doing?"
I feel like I'm getting a little bit of plum fruit. And Mark was talking about figs, but I don't know if I'm getting fig.
No, I'm definitely getting a little more stone fruit, plum kind of flavor. I can see maybe on the tail end of the palate kind of almost figgy, like a fig jam.
Jammy?
Yeah.
Jammy would be a good, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we really like Belgian strong beers. We don't do too many of them.
Yeah.
They're a bit of a pain in the ass. They make a lot of mess in the brewery.
Oh, really?
When the boys brew them, the yeast gets really, really happy.
Quite active.
Oh, it's a mess. It's just, it's f***ing everywhere.
Oh,
and
shit.
the guys are just like, oh, this is going to be so sticky.
You need a full shower after that, not just washing the hands.
You do. Like, it'll be up in their pants. Like, it'll just soak up and leach and splash everywhere.
Pleasant.
I know they bring a change of clothes some days just for, like, dealing with these kinds of beers.
Yeah.
For Evan, he's one of our founders. This is kind of like the reason for existing. Doing the Belgian beers is, like, what got him excited about beer. He named one of his daughters after a Belgian brewery.
Oh, really?
Like, this is his jam. So he was tickled pink when this got put into cans.
Nice.
Like, this is why he lives for beer. So, really excited to share it with you guys.
Yeah, this is nice and tasty. It's a dangerous beer, though. It's too easy to drink.
What would you guys pair it with at the restaurant? I mean, you've had a few sips now.
It's quite sweet, so it's kind of trying to figure out if I would do an entree with that or honestly just pair it with a dessert.
I was going to suggest dessert. To me, it's a dessert beer. It's a nightcap beer.
Yeah, definitely is. Honestly, I think like on our menu we have a creme caramel. That's one of the most basic desserts out there, but it's delicious, and when it's done right, it's so tasty. And we treat ours kind of like a salted caramel. So you got the Malden sea salt on there. We use cold pressed canola oil, which kind of helps cut through the sweetness because the cold press is a little bit bitter. So it helps balance it a little more, especially because salt really just brings up that sweetness. And then we do toasted hazelnuts on it.
Dude, that sounds good.
Yeah, it is. It's easily one of our most popular desserts. So
One of the things you guys had done recently was a beer dinner with Rebellion.
yeah, our first one.
Super excited to find out if you guys are going to be doing that again.
We are doing more dinners, so we've decided we're going to alternate. So we're going to do them every 2 months, I believe it is. Our next one's going to be a cocktail dinner. That one's already sold out. That's still a month away.
So what does a dinner typically entail?
So we do 4 courses. We usually charge around $75, which, you know, when you consider you're getting a drink with each course and the food and we're doing something different than what we have on our menu, and bang for your buck, so worth it. Like the value of $75 for 4 courses from, well, now I'm going to plug the restaurant a little bit, but we were named the 66th best restaurant in Canada in our first year of being open. We're the only restaurant on the list. So $75 for a 4-course meal with a drink at each course, it's a pretty good value.
I thought it was pretty good when I went to the beer dinner. Because at the end, I was stuffed, and there was tons of beer, and I was just like, I can't keep up. But I want to keep eating because it tastes so good.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. It's been a while since I've done a beer dinner. I've been doing a lot more like wine and other booze dinners in the past. I'm part of the Chefs Association here in Regina, and we do dinners at Over the Hill Orchard, which is an organic orchard about 20 minutes out of Regina.
We serve their cherries in our cherry mead.
Yep. And Dean and Sylvia are absolutely wonderful people, first of all. Love doing the dinners with them because they're always so excited, and to see what they've grown from this tiny little 30-seat, it wasn't even a dining room back then, it was just a room where you came to buy all their products and everything. And then 2 years ago they expanded. They have this gorgeous dining room overlooking the valley and everything out by Lumsden. The sun sets perfectly. You got all this great food. Really, really fun environment. It's great. I've been doing them for 5 years now, so.
If people want to get a heads up on the next beer dinner with Avenue, how do they get the inside knowledge?
So normally what we do is we'll push it on our social media, and we usually do pamphlets that we have at the restaurant. And then from there, it just kind of goes from that to word of mouth.
Because I kind of feel like if you're a serious foodie, this is something you want to check out.
It's a lot of fun. So the next one's going to be a cocktail one. Then the one after that, we'll go back to doing beer again, and that'll kind of be the progression. It'll be a cocktail dinner, then we'll do a beer dinner, then it's a cocktail dinner.
You guys are pretty serious about cocktails.
Oh, yes. Our general manager and part owner, Christopher Cho, he's probably, I would say, one of the best mixologists in the country. He's won many, many competitions across the country. Actually, right now, he is the reigning 2-time national Caesar champion.
Really?
Yeah. And last year, his Caesar was actually kind of cool. He did like a very ramen-themed type Caesar. And I'm not a big Caesar person personally. And tomato and alcohol, not my thing. But his was actually kind of tasty.
So if you don't like it, but you can admit, hey, that's not bad,
Yeah.
It must be pretty damn good.
Well, and he started his own bitters company as well called Traditional Bitters. You can actually buy them at the restaurant, or I know they sell them at Willow Park in Harbor Landing. They carry his bitters as well. And I believe Silvers on Albert carry them as well. And so he's really taking it to another level. Like and if you don't know what bitters are a flavoring used in cocktails. So he's got 4. He's got the floral, he's got the aromatic, he's got the citrus, and what is the 4th one? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Delicious.
Yeah, they're all great, and he makes them himself. He bottles them himself. So for a man who's running a restaurant and like he oversees all the front of house operations for all 4 restaurants, to be doing this on the side and it being a great product really speaks to how invested he is in a cocktail program.
I see pictures of him, and he's always like bent over the glass, and he's doing something really focused. And
Yeah. Yeah, the cameras don't lie. He's very good at what he does and very, very thoughtful. He does so many different kinds of things. Like he makes all his syrups in-house. One of our most popular summer drinks is called the mint condition, and what we do is instead of regular ice, he takes watermelons, purees them, strains out all the pulp so it's just straight watermelon juice, and he turns those into ice cubes. And instead of regular ice, you get these watermelon ice cubes in this drink. And I believe the mint condition obviously has got mint in it. I believe it's got gin. And it's very fresh, very refreshing as the watermelon kind of melts into the liquor. The flavor changes as you drink it. It's pretty cool. He's pretty good at what he does.
Well, Chris, I want to thank you for your time today.
Yeah, man. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers, bro.
Rebels, thanks for listening today. Be sure to go check out Avenue in downtown Regina. Check out when their next cocktail dinner or beer dinner is going to be. Get in there. Get some tickets. You won't regret it. I got to go to the first one, and it was probably the best meal I've had in like the last 5 years. It was just lights out. Food's amazing. Deserves to be paired with kick-ass beer like ours. I'm also proud to let you know that Rebellion Brewing Podcast is an affiliate member of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. If you're into podcasts, you're looking for great content produced right here in our province, the Sask Podcast Network at saskpodcastnetwork.com is a great one-stop shop to discover local stories to listen to. As always, if you want to find the latest news about Rebellion Brewing, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Untapped. We've got a bunch of new beers coming out this fall. I'm super excited for you to try them all. I can't wait to share it with you. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.